most Christians have read right past it. A single chapter, hidden in the middle of the Old Testament, that raises questions most preachers never address. Can the dead communicate with the living? What actually happened when King Saul visited the witch of Endor? And why does this story matter for what we believe today? To understand what happened that night, you need to understand how far Saul had fallen. Saul was chosen by God, anointed by the prophet Samuel, made the first king of Israel. But Saul had spent years dismantling his own relationship with God, one act of disobedience at a time. He offered a sacrifice he had no right to offer. He spared an enemy God commanded him to destroy. He made decisions driven by fear instead of faith. And slowly, God's presence withdrew from him. The Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul. And now, the most terrifying moment of his life had arrived. The Philistine army was assembling. Massive, overwhelming. A military force so large that when Saul saw it, the Bible says his heart trembled greatly. He inquired of God, but God did not answer him. Not by dreams, not by the prophets, not by the Urim. Silence. And in that silence, a desperate and terrified king made the worst decision of his life. He sought out a medium. The irony is devastating. Earlier in his reign, Saul himself had expelled all mediums and spiritists from the land, following God's command in Leviticus that such practices were an abomination. But now, the man who had banned them was secretly seeking one out. Disguised in different clothing, traveling by night with two of his men, Saul came to the woman at Endor. "Consult a spirit for me," he said. "Bring up for me the one I name." The woman was terrified. She knew what Saul had done to mediums. She feared a trap. But Saul swore to her, "As surely as the Lord lives, no punishment would come to her for this." He swore by the very God whose instructions he was violating to get what he wanted. "Bring up Samuel," he said. And then something happened that terrified even the medium herself. She saw Samuel, and she cried out with a loud voice, "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." The king asked her, "What do you see?" "I see a ghostly figure coming up out of the earth," she said. "An old man wearing a robe." And Saul knew. It was Samuel. And Saul bowed his face to the ground and prostrated himself. Then Samuel spoke. "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" "I am in great distress," Saul said. "The Philistines are fighting against me. God has departed from me. He no longer answers me. So I have called on you to tell me what to do." And Samuel answered him, "Why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done what he predicted through me. He has torn the kingdom out of your hands and given it to David. Because you did not obey the Lord and did not carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalekites, the Lord has done this to you today." And then the words that sealed Saul's fate. "Tomorrow, you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines." Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground, filled with fear. The next day, exactly as Samuel said, Saul and his 3 sons were killed in battle. Now, this story raises one of the most debated questions in all of biblical scholarship. Was that actually Samuel? Some scholars argue it was a demonic impersonation, a deceiving spirit masquerading as Samuel. Others point to the fact that the woman herself was terrified, suggesting something genuinely unexpected happened. And the text itself says, Samuel said to Saul, not a spirit said, not an apparition said. Samuel said. What we know for certain is this: the message Samuel delivered was completely accurate. The next day, exactly as prophesied, Saul was dead. And whether God allowed the actual Samuel to deliver one final message or used another means, the warning was real. The judgment was real. The consequence was real. The story of Saul and the witch of Endor is ultimately not a story about the occult. It is a story about what happens to a man who spends years ignoring God, until the day he desperately needs him and finds only silence. Saul did not end up at the witch of Endor because he was a wicked man who hated God. He ended up there because he was a man who kept choosing his own way over God's way, one compromise at a time, until there was nothing left. The decisions you make today about your relationship with God determine whether He will answer when you need Him most. Do not wait until you are standing in the dark, desperate, with nowhere left to turn, to wish you had kept that relationship alive. If this story opened your eyes today, like it, share it, and subscribe to Faith in the End Times. Every week, we bring the greatest stories ever told back to life. God bless you. See you next time.